So the awareness becomes the superpower. What is the thought I'm thinking about? What is it that is underpinning? And the thought here was, I'm a terrible mom. And then I get to take that thought and really dissect it. Hello, welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a great day. Today is going to be a day of exploration and discovery and learning and most importantly, growth. Because today we are talking about what I know will resonate with so many of you. And I'm letting you know that I feel bad about myself all the time. It's true. It's true. I think that often people think that in this business of happiness, with all the awesome tools and suggestions and skills and techniques and shifts of perspective that I offer on this podcast, that there is complete freedom from anxiety and overwhelm and unhappiness. And it just isn't true. And I knew that I needed to create an episode where I shared with you the fact that I feel bad about myself all the time. And it's because of that reality, of that human condition, that I feel so passionately about this work. Because what I know is when I feel bad about myself, nothing good comes of it. I think that that's one of those things that we all share, is this deep inner anxiety that I'm failing, that I'm doing something wrong. And when I say failing, I don't mean in a business sense or a monetary sense or an accomplishment sense, although definitely that is a part of the game, right? Definitely that's a part of our experience. That's a part of something we desire, is to do well in our lives. But, I think what I'm talking about is that deep feeling that somehow you're failing as a person, as a loved one, as a guide, as a leader, as a mom. And I have that all the time. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when I have these thoughts of not feeling good about myself at my core, I'm just not able to do the wonderful things in life that I need to do. And I'm going beyond here the fact of just enjoying life, because it's impossible to do so when you're feeling bad about yourself. I'm saying, as a human being who really has a deep desire to serve, to uplift, to empower, to support, it's virtually impossible to do that in a place where you're feeling so negative about yourself. So I'll give you a scenario. Tell me how many of you actually this has happened to, because this is a frequency in my life. In the middle of the night, you wake up and you are just going over and over and over something that you said or didn't say, didn't do, but the core of it is how terrible you are. And, it's that middle of the night voice that really hurts and can keep you awake for hours if you allow it to, because it's nobody else in the room. It's just you and your thoughts. And it can be so mean. Last night, this happened to me, and that's why I'm speaking about it today, because, what I want to share with you is this is an evolving practice that never ends. Reminding ourselves of the importance of happiness, using the tools to support ourselves in feeling better, never ends. This self-discovery of ourselves, of deeper understanding of ourselves, never ends. And it's actually, as painful as it sounds, it's beautiful as well, because it also gives us permission to fumble, gives us permission to have those days where you just feel bad about yourself. That's what happened to me last night. And the biggest gift that I can give you is the love and the power of self-awareness. That really is everything. Because if you can just in that moment recognize what's going on, when you're sitting in bed, lying in bed, driving to work, whenever it is that you find yourself most contemptuous of yourself, whenever you're finding yourself feeling bad, and that's the key, when it doesn't feel good. It's almost like that's the indicator. That's the little blinking light shining at you saying, heh, something's wrong. Boop, 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 boop. Pay attention, pay attention. It's the feeling. It's that feeling of uneasiness, of restlessness, of just unhappiness, feeling bad, stressing. Some of us call it anxiety. Some of us call it overwhelm. Some of us call it depression. That feeling of just not feeling good. You know it. What we tend to do is we tend to jump to the why me? Why am I feeling this way? What's broken about me? And the thing is, there's nothing broken about you. You are a human being, but there is reason to pay attention. So being aware of it, is the number one superpower skill. In that moment, realizing, oh my gosh, what is the story that's going on inside my head right now? Because what we do in that moment is we start to replay scenarios. We distract ourselves with the story. We start to blame people. We start to accuse people. We start to judge people. And here's the secret message I have for you, my friend. All judgment is self-judgment. All of it at the core. At the core of all judgment is self-judgment. And oh my gosh, when I realized that, it freed me so much. Because when we judge other people, we feel bad about it. Man, I feel terrible when I badmouth someone, or I accuse someone, or I blame someone. Not only do I feel terrible because it totally gives away my power, it makes me a victim of the situation. So immediately I feel bad about myself. But also, I love people. I love people. I see the best in people. I see potential in people. I want to believe in people. So when I see negativity and I start blaming someone, it does not make me feel good. And that brings us back to this whole idea of reaching for feeling good and the value of reaching for happiness. And I don't mean necessarily dancing on the stars and jumping up and down on a mountaintop, although that feels phenomenal and there needs to be more of that in the world. What I'm talking about is just feeling good and the value of reaching for that. Because when we feel bad, nothing good can come from it. Nothing good can come from it when we're beating ourselves up, when we're blaming other people. So all judgment is self-judgment. So when you know that and you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. and you're blaming someone and you're rehashing a whole situation, pause for a moment and just ask yourself what's really underlying this. And you'll notice what comes up for you. This is the power of awareness stepping in. And awareness allows you to see, oh my gosh, I'm judging myself. I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't say the right thing. I didn't have enough calm in the moment to be patient and hear them out. I didn't allow myself to stand in my truth. I let them bully me. I let them take advantage of me. It's the self-judgment that hurts. And it only hurts because we love and care so passionately and deeply about that thing. What I was lying awake last night worrying about was my parenting. And of course, the story that's going around in my head is my kid, and he should or shouldn't do this or shouldn't say that. But really what's at the underpinning of all that pain and fear is I'm a terrible mom. That's the feeling. Lying awake in bed because I care so much about being a great mother. So let's take that back to work. If you're lying awake thinking, oh my gosh, and then she said this at work, and then she said that at work, and I should have done this. What is it at the core? What is it that you feel so deeply about? Because we know when we don't care about something, it just washes right off of us. There's a nugget in there that you're so passionate about. And feeling good about yourself is so important because take this scenario, for example. Let's go back to me lying awake in bed last night, thinking about what a terrible mother I am and all the things I've done wrong and the fear that I have for my kids. How does that make me feel? Well, instantly it makes me feel defeated, fearful, ashamed, worried, sad. I start to doubt myself and my ability. I start to get a little bit of anxiety, like, man, I want to get up and fix this right now. A little bit of urgency. And all of those feelings do not allow me to have clarity or creative problem solving or even loving problem solving from a place of love and passion. I start acting in defense, accusing, blaming, angry. I start creating scenarios that are urgent. I start grasping at band-aids to fix little problems instead of seeing the bigger picture. See how feeling bad about ourselves just leads to negative feelings, negative actions. And then what happens when I make those drastic changes or those urgent actions or blame? I just prove it to myself that I'm a terrible mom because the cycle just keeps repeating itself. Because when we take those actions that are out of a place of fear, it's never productive. It never makes us feel better. Just puts a little Band-Aid on the wound. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you didn't get into business to be miserable. The problem is that people feel that if their business gets busier, if they start becoming more successful, that happiness will eventually set in. But it can actually get worse. This is why I created the Business of Happiness Prosperity Coaching. In this one-on-one coaching, we look at how to redefine success on your terms and re-find the joy and the passion in your dream. Visit me at thebizofhappiness.com and become the happiest business owner you know. When you blame someone or you get angry at someone, it feels good in the moment. It doesn't last. It never lasts. You feel bad about yourself, and then you're awake the next night again. So one of the tools that I've learned from some great mentors and from training for coaching and in my coaching certification and definitely from so many of my mentors, something that we tend to work with is understanding that the story inside our head is fictitious, that we get to choose a new thought. So the awareness becomes the superpower. What is the thought I'm thinking about? What is it that is underpinning? And the thought here was, I'm a terrible mom. And then I get to take that thought and really dissect it and ask myself, is that really true? Because what if the exact opposite was true? Or how do I wish I felt? What is evidence of me being a great mom? It's always easy to reach for when we recognize the passion. That's one first place. If you're having trouble creating a new thought for yourself when you're feeling bad about something, remember how much you love it. Remember how much it means to you, because that is always true. At the core of anything we're feeling badly about is a very deep passion or meaning or love. Let me tell you, that is so true for me with parenting. Man, I love being a mom. I adore my kids. It means more to me than almost anything in this world. I start there. I'm a really passionate mom. I care so much about parenting that I'm always evaluating how can I do better. I'm always learning. I'm always reading. Oh, wow. I start finding evidence of the opposite. Isn't that interesting? And then what I follow it up with is a waterfall of feel-good emotions. And how do I do a waterfall? I just start riffing. I just start creating and going off of what feels really good. So I'll give you an example with parenting. You know, I love being a mom. It means so much to me. I learn so much from being a mom. I care so deeply about the learning of parenting. I care so deeply about launching my kids for the very best potential in their lives. It matters so much to me that I give them the tools they need to live their lives to their fullest. I really am a good mom because I care so much, because this matters so much to me. You know what? Actually, I'm a really good mom because I take the time to have good conversations with them. I take the time to show them my vulnerability. I take the time to give them love. I really love my kids. And if there's one thing that I know about good mothers, it's the desire to give love. That's really all that a mother has to do is love. And man, I love deeply. Wow, I'm a great mom because I love my kids so intensely and I share that love with them and I tell them I love them. That's a waterfall of emotion. That's what you do. You take that core, bad, negative feeling, that negative story that's keeping you up at night. You have the awareness of it. You realize, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what I'm hurting myself over. That's the negative story. That's what I'm beating myself up over. And then you start just waterfalling all the evidence of the exact opposite and starting with why that matters so much to you. Now, for a moment, just hear me out. Look at the difference between beating yourself up and loving yourself for something. Look at how the feelings change the subsequent behavior. Because when I start feeling really good about being a mom, and I start reminding myself about all these things that I love about being a mother and why I'm really trying to be a great mother and what really makes a good mother, suddenly I give myself a little bit more self-belief, a little more self-worth. Now my actions are calmer, they're less urgent. My actions are more intentional. My actions are less defensive. They're coming from a place of love and confidence and worthiness as opposed to defensiveness and fear. Let's take that back to work for a moment. All right, let's make that middle of the night feeling, that middle of the night story. I should have done this. She's so terrible. My colleague who I work with is so mean. She keeps taking advantage of me. She always comes out on top. That negative feeling. What's that really telling me? What's the awareness? Perhaps underlying in there is, oh, I should have stood up for myself. I should have had better boundaries. I'm always letting people push me around. See how defeating that is? See how the actions will be so defensive the next day. Even in bed that night, the actions are not allowing me to fall asleep. Now imagine I start recognizing, oh, that's the negative story I'm telling myself. Let me intentionally step into a waterfall of positive emotion. I really care about how I do at work. I really care about having great relationships at work. I'm really grateful to her for showing me where I've not allowed good, healthy boundary setting. I'm really grateful that I see this opportunity in my work so that I can do something differently next time. In fact, isn't it fascinating that I have this incredible new experience that the universe has brought to me for me to learn more about myself? Because what I know is, I know I care about standing up for myself. I know that we're all just trying our best. I know that when I judge her, she might have had a really bad day. And I've been there before. I've had bad days. And really, I can see that it's not about me. What I really know is that I can have awareness. I can have new perspective. I can go into work tomorrow and feel confident that I have a different viewpoint. I can have an empowered viewpoint. I can see what tomorrow would look like in our conversations if I just come in with a place of self-love, knowing that I love what I do, knowing that I'm proud of the way I do what I do. And if she's having a bad day, it has nothing to do with me. I can let that go. In fact, I can let people around me have bad days and I can still have a great day. I don't have to leave that up to chance. Look at me. I can take ownership of my day. That was a waterfall of feeling positive, empowering emotions. I just kept going. It feels so good to do this because we start to build ourselves up. We start to be our own mentor, our own guru, because nobody knows what you need to hear. Nobody knows what you feel deeply about as well as you do, if you pay attention and ask yourself the question. And the coolest thing about feeling bad is it tells you what matters to you. When you're feeling bad about something, it is a beautiful neon arrow pointing directly at your passion and your purpose. That matters to me. When I feel bad about something, I know, oh my gosh, I'm lying awake here thinking about it. It must be super important to me. It must be one of my core life's values. That's miraculous. And now I can start choosing differently, choosing my thought patterns with the purpose of empowering myself so that I can take creative action, so that I can prove to myself the exact opposite of my fears. Feeling good about yourself is so important. You know, I was thinking this week about the shooter that was so tragic in Uvalde, Texas, a couple of weeks ago. Something that just seems to be haunting our communities and our society in America. One of those very controversial aspects of policy. It's really dividing the nation once again. And more than ever, more important than ever right now is feeling good about ourselves, is reaching for happiness. I keep thinking if that shooter had just felt good about themselves, they wouldn't have gone in there and hurt others. If we can just reach for feeling better about ourselves, if we can harness the tools, these small tools on a daily basis of finding awareness of how we feel, not just pushing through the day, pushing away those emotions, but recognizing them and saying, oh my gosh, I feel this way. Acknowledging the way we feel, allowing ourselves to feel that way, and recognizing it's human and you are not alone. If you have woken up in the middle of the night feeling bad about yourself, you are not alone. I know that because I do it too. And I also know how important it is to remind yourself of how amazing you are. Because when we feel good about ourselves, we can do good things in the world. It's when we feel bad about ourselves that we start hurting others. Not intentionally, but just out of fear, protection, saving ourselves, trying to feel just a little bit better. You know, I often return to this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." And when we feel inferior, the core of it is our consent to feeling bad. When you notice that, my friend, pay attention, listen to her, give her compassion. Recognize you are not alone. We all feel bad some of the time. And then pour on the love. Give yourself this waterfall of positive emotion. Start just pouring on the love that you need, the words you need, the evidence you need. Allow yourself to see yourself for who you really are. You're miraculous. You are spectacular. And you are so worthy of feeling good. Take care of yourselves, my friends.